GOAT format discussion. The spells. Yes, Giant Trinity was at 3 during that time. Nobody played it unless you were running Armed Samurai Benkei because you didn't need lots of mass spell and trap removal because people didn't set a bunch of cards until Storm was burned. And even if you played Giant Trinade, after you burned a Storm, what were you going to do after you played it? It's not like you were going to just drop a bunch of monsters on the field and swing for game. That didn't really exist at that time. There were, all the spells at that time were almost power spells. Nobleman Crossout was only at 2, and the card was really good. You combine it with Tsukiyomi, you just had like instant monster removal on anything. Genzo, BLS, Tribe, whatever was a problem card and you didn't want to see anymore, Tsukiyomi Crossout was just good stuff. Combo it with Book of Moon, all the flip effects during that time. Spy, Dekuichi, Magician of Faith, Gravekeeper's Guard, Night Assailant, Old Vindictive Magician. There's just so many flip effects at that time. One of my favorites that I could understand why nobody played was Magical Merchant. Hitting the Magical Merchant, that was definitely sexy. Metamorphosis was a huge power card, and even on Dueling Network, I see people playing the card wrong. I feel that you play Metamorphosis as a power play, not just make Thousand Eyes restrict because you can, especially if they haven't used any Book of Moons, Ring of Destruction. It's like a low resource, you need a fast out or something. And it's always telegraphed, the end phase goats, and then it's coming. Metamorphosis, Thousand Eyes, suck up your monster. And usually I just laugh when it happens early game because it's like, man, this guy doesn't even realize that I haven't used my morph yet. I haven't used any of my power cards yet. So I'm just going to let him continue with this Thousand Eyes restrict, and I'm just going to wall up so he's just stuck and can't get any aggression. Now, of course, you can go Metamorph and restrict if you're trying to play out of a weak hand. You want to stall the game a little bit, slow it down, so you can draw into some power plays. But in general, you want to save these. One of my things I like to do, and some people watching me on Dueling Network recently can attest to it, is when you're down to a battle of attrition and your opponent has burned a lot of their power monsters, and all they have are a select few good power spells, is Air Knight and the Metamorphosis. Some people say, well, why would you give up your Air Knight? Well, if I'm already up on cards, obviously, because I got 1 or 2 successful Air Knight hits in, and they're top decking or in a real close situation to top decking, main phase 2, I'll Metamorphose into Dark Balter, with a couple thousand life points left, and that way, if they top deck a Vortex, a Pot of Greed, Graceful Charity, any of those cards, I can negate and just stay in a winning position. If I premature burial my Air Knight, poke main phase 2 Metamorphosis for Balter, now I'm free to set my Magician of Faith, set my Dekuichi, and I can protect it from Nobleman of Crossout. They can't play Metamorphosis and get over my Balter. If they set any monster while I have Balter out, like a Magician of Faith or a Dekuichi, I'm attacking the gate. If they're chump blocking, I hit that Serpent and it's done forever, because of Balter's effect. The Serpent won't be returning to the hand. So there's just like so many power plays you can do with Metamorphosis. And people talk about these cards a lot. The Unholy Trinity. The correct way to play these. In general, it's always good to play Pot of Greed as soon as you draw it. Some people are saying, you play when you're in a low resource game to get back cards. I say, why wait? Just play the card, get those, two cards off the top, you know, and, just go nuts. Because you're going to be feeling real salty when you're holding on to your Pot of Greed and then they duo you, hitting your Pot of Greed. You're like, oh my god, you're such a sack, you hit my pot. No, dumbass, you didn't play it when you drew it. I can see if they went first and they duoed your Pot of Greed, okay, that's one thing. But if you've been trying to be like you're just some kind of Zen master, pro, you know, Yu-Gi-Oh savant, and hold on to your Pot of Greed because you want to just wait till you get the Holy Trinity, or you want to, set it up, set your Magician of Faith with a couple of protection cards, so that way you can go Pot Graceful Duo, flip Faith, pick one of the three back up. As cute as that might be, if you can set that up, I don't want to take the chance because you get hit with a duo. And, Graceful, on the other hand, is different. Generally, you play Graceful if you have reasonable discards like Sinister Serpent, Air Knight, Jinzo, those kind of things. Set up your grave for BLS. Or if you're down on cards and you need to dig for answer, those are suitable times to draw it. I've even got players calling me bad because I played it. I played my charity early, and I would dump power spells like a cross out, maybe and a vortex. And they're like, oh, LOL, you're so bad, dumping your power spells. And I'm thinking to myself, well, you burned your two crossouts, one on Reaper and one on my DD Assailant. And so now I'm free to set my Magician of Faith, and I have Tsukiyomi plus protection. So, I'm just digging for monsters at that point. And now I turn my graveyard into a reverse toolbox, and I can get them back anytime with my Tsukiyomi Magician of Faith combo. So, there's some advanced plays you can do with Magician of Faith. Not everybody will agree, but there are a lot of times when you can set that up, and that's pretty good. That's pretty good. Last Will didn't see much play, and I can't really explain why that was. I believe it was at 3. Yeah, I think it was at 3. And I tried it for a while in a couple of soul control type decks. Flip my deck or protect the Dekoichi type decks. Flip my Dekoichi, draw a card, play Last Will, trigger for Mobius, clear their back row. If they didn't have a scapegoat, then I'll grab Spirit Reaper off of Last Will. And if they did have scapegoat, then I'll just get a Sangan and poke 2 goats. So, it was just like, it was a pretty sexy card, and you could do some really cool stuff with it. These 2 cards, MST and Heavy Storm. So many kids thinks it's still cool to end phase MST in that format. You did not end phase MST during that format. The only way you would end phase MST is if they set one card and ended, and you had a huge push coming. And the reason I'm saying that is because MST was at 1. You only had 3 spell and trap removal cards: MST, Heavy Storm, and Breaker. Maybe Dust Tornado if you ran it. And MST was just too good of a chainable. They play Call the Haunted, MST. They play Premature Burial, targeting their Air Knight for a big play, MST. And, kids playing the format or using this format with 3 MST, they play it early thinking that they're going to draw into more MSTs, and it's like, nope, it was at 1. You burned it. Now I'm free to make my Call the Haunted and Premature Burial plays, knowing that you're only out as Heavy Storm or potentially a Breaker that might get Trap Hold or Ring of Destruction. And, but just Storm, that if they burn the Storm, then you're free to set all your back row and just turtle up. Last thing I want to talk about is Triple Book of the Moon. I don't have a third one around here for some reason. But this card was obnoxious. And there's a reason why it's at 1. I mean, it's probably, I've said it before, the best neg 1 in the game. And the reason why I say neg 1 is by playing it, you get no advantage. It's not monster removal. You know, you play, you put something face down, then it goes away. Whatever threats were on the field are still there. And so it's, you know, it's a neg 1. But being able to save yourself from a Ring of Destruction, a Mirror Force, a Trap Hole, you know, also putting Genzo face down, turn your traps on, reusing your flip effects, putting Monarchs in vulnerable position, reusing Thousand Eyes Restrict. Just was endless. And for those of you who want 3 Book of Moon in this format, do you realize how nutty Guaiba would be if Rescue Rabbit.deck had 3 Lances and 3 Book of Moons? Can you imagine how retarded that deck would be? Even Flamvales would be hot with triple Book of Moon and triple Lance. So I'm just glad that card's at 1. Even 2 would be too obnoxious for today's game. All right, so tell me what you think about the spells of that format, and any spells you felt I left out. There were, a lot of other spells. Oh, Wave Motion Cannon, my God. Level Limit Area B. Those cards were obnoxious because, again, you only had a couple of pieces of spell and trap removal. And Wave Motion Cannon was kind of like a tech card. You played it after your opponent burned some spell and trap removal. And now they're like, okay, do I MST that face down? That might be a Sakuretsu armor. Or do I hit that Wave Motion Cannon before it gets too big? So you got to play mind games. And then with Level of Area B and even Messenger of Peace back then, those cards are just so obnoxious because you just stall and stall and stall with no spell and trap removal. And whatever deck you were running, you generally base your deck to gain max advantage off of those spell cards, especially Level Limit Area B. With Level Limit Area B, you played Pac-Man, or even cards like Stumbling, you played Clown Control, and knowing that they had no easy ways to get rid of the Stumbling. All right, so that was the spells. Tell me what you guys think. Do you want me to go into the traps next? Do you want to see some more deck lists? Thumbs up this video, like this video, share this video, and comment down below about what you want me to talk about next. I'll be happy to talk about it. It's DUBKDAD, and I'm out.